Construction standards might sound boring, but here's something wild. The ancient Egyptians used a standardized royal cubit measurement system, so precise. The base of the Great Pyramid only deviates by 0.63 inches across its 756-foot width. Today's construction standards are even more impressive.
That's fascinating because it really shows how standardization has been crucial to human achievement throughout history. How do modern standards compare to those ancient systems?
Well, today's building smart standards process is actually far more sophisticated. They've developed this three-phase approach: initiation, solution development, and approval. That's transforming how we handle major construction projects worldwide.
So tell me more about how these phases actually work in practice. I'm especially curious about that initial phase.
The initiation phase is incredibly detailed. They start by developing comprehensive proposals that identify specific user needs and standard concepts. Think of it like creating a detailed roadmap. They document real-world use cases, create work plans, and develop stakeholder support plans.
Hmm. That reminds me of how software companies plan major updates. They need to consider all possible user scenarios before making any changes.
Exactly right. And just like software development, the next phase brings in multiple layers of expert reviews. These specialists examine everything from user requirements to commercial viability and technical architecture. You know what's interesting? Studies show that projects using these standardized processes see about 30% fewer delays.
That's exactly the kind of impact I was wondering about. How do they ensure these standards stay relevant as technology evolves?
Well, they've built this fascinating system where standards progress through what they call a maturity scale. Even after the development work is complete and the standards committee executive reviews it, it's only designated as a candidate standard. They're incredibly thorough.
You know what this makes me think of? The way aviation standards evolved after each major incident. Each new learning gets incorporated into the system.
That's a brilliant comparison. And just like aviation, these construction standards require documented evidence proving consensus among stakeholders. They have specific voting rules and notification requirements. It's actually quite similar to how international aviation standards are developed.
So, how do they handle situations where new technologies like 3D printed buildings come along?
That's where their adaptive framework really shines. Instead of having to create entirely new standards, they can modify existing ones through a structured process. For example, when 3D printing emerged, they integrated it into existing material and structural standards rather than starting from scratch.
Mm. And I imagine this helps prevent the kind of disasters we've seen in the past, like the Hyatt Regency walkway collapse in 1981 that occurred partly due to unclear communication standards.
Exactly. And that's why they emphasize transparency throughout the entire process. Every decision and change is documented and accessible, creating what they call a single source of truth for all stakeholders. It's estimated this approach reduces communication errors by about 40%.
That's remarkable. So these standards are really about preventing problems before they occur.
Precisely. And they're constantly evolving. The latest versions include provisions for things like smart building technology and sustainable construction methods. They estimate that proper standardization can reduce a project's carbon footprint by up to 20%.
Well, that really puts it in perspective. These aren't just bureaucratic rules, they're actually driving innovation and sustainability.
And that's really the key takeaway here. These standards are the invisible foundation that makes modern construction possible. They're what allows us to build everything from sustainable homes to 1,000-foot skyscrapers while maintaining the highest levels of safety and efficiency.
Looking ahead, what do you think these standards will mean for the future of construction?
Well, with the rise of artificial intelligence and automated construction methods, these standards will become even more crucial. They'll need to evolve to handle things like robot-assisted construction and real-time digital twins of buildings. It's estimated that by 2030, about 80% of new commercial construction will rely on these advanced digital standards.